Okay, think I am live. Yay. Okay, how is everybody? I'm going to give everybody just a couple minutes to tune in. If you are joining me for the first time, my name is Dawn L, and I'm a channel, a soul coach, all these fun things. And I'm just so excited to be here with you today. And I am going to, if you've never joined me before, what I do is I feel into the energetics and I intuitively channel what I feel like is going to be happening for the collective. And it's really interesting because every month I try and go back and listen to my older reports. And last month I went and I listened to it and I was just like, oh my gosh, because there was just so much that really transpired energetically. And so that was so in alignment with what I had talked about. So if you're joining, say hi. I'd love to see who's on. Say hello, say hello. Tell me where you're joining from. And I'm going to get started because I have lots of lives to do today. So, okay, so before I jump in, I just wanted to tell you guys, if whether you're watching live or the replay, my Rich Soul program, the doors are open right now. If you didn't catch the Limitless Life activation, it was a 4-day activation. It was amazing. I did like a past life thing. I did a past one, then a futuring, and all sorts of things. It was really, really cool. And so that group is still open if you want to go in there and catch the videos before I take them down. And that program is amazing. It's my 6-month, like, kind of takes you through everything about soul and really helps you create the most beautiful, gorgeous, sustainable transformation. So if you have questions about it, you want to know about it, message me and we will chat. Okay, so I'm going to start to channel for just, I always choose one card for the month of June just on its own and see what, and I know like the last card for the last month for May, actually I want to say something about that really quick. So it was I remember it was like the universe card from this deck. This is the Psychic Tarot deck, this one right here, you guys. And when I was channeling, May was such a portal. It was such an activating month in so many ways. And so is June. So is June. We are in the throes of change. And so if you have not felt that already with like the eclipses and stuff, like, oh my God, well, good for you, because maybe you're, but yeah, it's definitely been very activating and asking us to step into the higher timelines, which means we have to let a lot go. There's been so much releasing, so much. Okay, so June. So let me see what card. Oh, so we get the Destinate card, which in the traditional tarot is the Wheel of Fortune. And so let me feel into this and tell you what is essentially happening for this one. So with this card and this energy, it's like basically what they're showing me, like all the work that you've been doing and the ways that you've been showing up start to create somewhat of a foundation. Like the foundation is starting to kind of like, before it just felt like it was so wobbly and everything. It's almost like a little baby that's learning how to walk. Like they keep standing up, then they fall back. They stand up, they fall back, right? It's like, you want to get to somewhere, but like you still have to, like, you're getting, like, you have to get your legs about you. You got to get your sturdiness. You got to get your resiliency. So this month there's going to be a lot of like really stepping into your resolve and really like learning how to hold yourself to walk forward towards the truth of your, your being, which is like, there's this big theme of like really being like in your authenticity. There's this feeling of like, I get of like almost the nakedness of who we are. And some of you may feel very naked because you may have been dropping out so much of your identities and the things that don't resonate anymore in May, that this month there's still a little bit of going on of like releasing, but it's also like this is the month like you get to start to feel sturdy, like walking forward. You start to feel like, okay, oh my gosh, like I'm feeling really good. And it feels like I'm seeing lots of blue energy. And so in the throat chakra, this blue energy. It starts in the heart and it goes up to the throat. And it just feels like this is the month where, like, if you've been working on what is true for you regarding your heart, like what it is that you really want, it's like this is the month that you get to express it. This is the month that, like, your external world starts to reflect all the changes that you've made. So whether it's like self-love, whether you've been working on your relationships, it feels like this month you're like, oh my God, I get to see the fruits of my labor. Like it's coming together. Like this feels really good. So there's this big expression point, okay? There's also this feeling of, oh my gosh, I just love this. It's the feeling I get in my body when I see a beautiful sunset. Like when you're looking at a sunset and you're just like, okay, like I'm starting to understand. Like when I see a sunset, I always think of like the beauty of life and the divine and just like you just take in the moment, right? You're very present. Well, this is this feeling of like, oh my God, like all this work that I've been doing on myself, all these things that I've been going through, all these changes, like I'm finally starting to understand why. I'm starting to see the beauty of the journey. I'm starting to get to relish and cherish in the energy. And then, comes in this card. Like this is all, what I'm channeling and seeing. But this means like right place, right time. That although things may be very much still in movement for you, it's like, look at the signs and the synchronicities that show up in your life. Like look at the timing. Like trust the timing of your life because you still have to be very flexible and fluid right now energetically. This isn't like, you can't have your heart set on something and expect it to be that exact way. Like things are like it's funny because they're saying things will actually even be better than you expect, but you have to be willing to surrender and let go. So this is like a big month of like just trusting the process, trusting the unfolding, looking for those signs. It's almost like when you're walking down a road and you see that sign on the road that's like, 10 miles to this place. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going in the right direction. I'm not there yet, but I'm like going in the right direction. And it feels good to know that you're going in the right direction. And there's going to be these like God winks, of like, yeah, okay, like it's happening. Things are coming together. So I really want you to think about that. Like, that image of a baby, like getting up to walk, and really being able to like full on, like start to get some like momentum, it's like you get that kind of walking going. And then once a little baby does it enough time, it stands up and it moves forward and it's good. And that's what's going to happen for each and every one of us in some way, shape or form. I feel like by the end of the month, we're going to stand up and we're going to be ready to move. This month is going to feel like its own journey. And when I say that, it just feels like there's going to be a lot of like ups and downs, twists and turns. And it's not that it's a bad thing. It's just that by the end of the month, you're going to be like, wow, like that was a hearty meal. That was a lot. Like there's a lot for me to sink my teeth into. Like that was a big deal. And I get this image, and it goes back to what I was saying about the throat, where you may look in the mirror at the end of this month and be like, wow. Because I remember saying for May, like at the end of the month, if you've been doing a lot of work, you're going to feel like there's so many changes and shifts happening. Well, this is the culmination of it too. Like this is like, at the end of this month, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, like I really have changed my life. Like my life is no longer what I thought it was before. So it's exciting. It's really exciting, but it's going to, if you're trying to hold on tight to things, and if you've been like kind of in that space of control, like it can feel a little jarring. So we have to give up some of that, control and flow. So I want you to think of your Wheel of Fortune energy as, how can I be fluid? How can I flow? How can I trust that the divine is holding me in ways that are beyond my comprehension? That everything is literally being shifted around energetically so that I can have what I've been dreaming of. Because this is the thing, you guys, like the dreams are becoming like tangible. Like you can like touch it. It's like what once was in the quantum field and just felt like energy is going to start to come in and it's going to start to manifest. That's why you got the Wheel of Fortune card, because it's like the signs and the synchronicities that are like, oh yeah, I'm there. Woo. Okay, so there's that. Okay, so let's pull a card for this week, for the first, and see what wants to come through. Woo! Love this card, ladies. Okay, let me just write it down. Prosperity begins. Boom. So I do not know why they're showing me this, but like I am seeing, like there's a little ride at, I remember when I used to take my girls to the park and you get on and you like run, you kind of run around and like you jump on it and it just goes in a circle. It's just like a circle. And there's this, there's this feeling of like maybe you're circling back on something. Maybe it's like this Mercury retrograde energy. It's very much like that Mercury retrograde of like circling back around, like seeing something again, like, you know, this is a time to like review how you're showing up in relationship to your prosperity, because it's about creating new beginnings, about receiving, you know, starting a new cycle of energy around your ability to receive and have wealth. And it's not just wealth of like money, it's actually also what is it that you want to call in, what is it that you want to be intentional with. And because I see that like circular like playground equipment, whatever you want to call it, like I'm having a hard time even saying the word. There's this sense of like, how can I do this better? How can I structure my material world in a way that like 6 months from now, like I'll be like patting my, like thanking my past self for like starting to put some money in savings, or starting to like get out of scarcity, starting to believe that, because this is a week too, you might see you might start to feel like, oh yeah, like I can see the money's coming in, or I can see the tangible results of some of the seeds I planted about 2 or 3 months ago. That's what they're telling me, about 2 or 3 months ago. And so, also don't be surprised at, they're talking a lot about connection and collaboration. Sorry, I can't talk. And who's coming in your life who wants to help you quantum leap to your next level of prosperity. So be on the lookout for that. So like if you have somebody come into your reality and you're like, this person's like introducing me to new people, or this is, I don't know. It's just like this cycle of like somebody like kind of pulling you into the mix and like bringing you into the fold of like some new energy. So just be really open to what wants to happen as far as your prosperity, your money, especially your relationship to prosperity. And I'm going to say this really quick. If you want to create something, and when you feel in your body and you think about it and you're coming from a space of scarcity. So there's a difference between having faith and being like, I want to bring in this type of thing in my business, or I want to go on this vacation, or whatever it may be. But you're coming from this frequency of like fear and like I need this, like I don't have this, and you're focusing on the lack. Like just be really careful, like aware of how you're coming into your ability to want to bring in these new beginnings, because this is a time of being really, 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 really focused on coming from faith and trust. Okay, that's the whole thing with the Wheel of Fortune too. It's like you have to believe in the higher timelines. You have to be invested in the overall journey and not like get so like caught off guard by the like subtle ups and downs of things, right? So like let's stay really focused and really intentional this week with the prosperity that we're going to receive and create. Okay, because it's all about new beginnings. Okay, so that's for the week of the 1st. So next week, the 7th, is there's a new moon in Gemini on the 10th. And so we have that. And you know what? I want to look up the new moon for the full moon too. So the 24th, we have the full moon. Okay, so the 10th. So next week is the full moon. No, sorry, it's the new moon, but it's the other part of the eclipse. Okay, so it's the eclipse part. So we had the eclipse in Sagittarius. It was the lunar eclipse. So this will be the solar eclipse. Okay, so just know like next week's really big energy. I feel like I say that every time, but there's been like the astrology this last year has been like unbelievably like wild and incredible, and it's really taking us through a wormhole. And so, you know, a wormhole is your opportunity to quantum leap. So are you ready next week to quantum leap. Like that's what I want you to think about. And Gemini is how you communicate. Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is like lightning fast thinking and intellectual concepts and just lots of stuff coming in like right here through the head. And so just like thinking about, you know, when it comes to this new moon, how you're expressing and communicating yourself. And we're already preparing for that because I told you guys I saw that for like the whole month of June. So what is this card for the 7th? Oh my God. So we have new beginnings. So this is the full card in the traditional tarot. So how aligned for a new moon and a wormhole. And so this, I love the full card so much because it's all about staying in the curiosity and wonder of what life wants to bring us, right? And if we're starting off in a new cycle of prosperity, we may be out of our comfort zone. We may be out of our element. We may not be knowing exactly what's happening. And so there's no better way to start any journey than just to be open and to just be curious about like what wants to come through. They're also showing me a lot of heart activations. I feel like there's going to be like some, like the Schumann resonance or solar flares or something. Like there's going to be a big pulsation of light that's going to come through the planet next week that is going to be clearing out some karmic and energetic residue in your heart chakra. You're going to be showing up to love in new ways. Like this is very much what I'm feeling. Like maybe because like Venus is in Cancer right now. Like there's just like this big feeling of like, oh my gosh, like this whole heart reset. And so I feel like the new beginnings is not so much about like, you know, something in the external world, you know, like you might be starting new projects and stuff, but it's more like about you and your relationship to yourself and like what you're willing to bet on for yourself, how bold you're willing to be, how you will not waste one more single day of your life not living in your truth. And when we go through these portals and wormholes, we realize that like everything is being designed for us to strip those things away that are like anchoring us to the past. And so this card very much feels like, you know, you're going to be a little, it goes back to the little baby. Like you're kind of like getting up and you're learning how to walk and you're learning like, what does it really feel like to love myself in these new ways? What does it feel like to be embodied, to trust my intuition, to trust and have faith that the things that I'm desiring are desiring me? That there's like this, oh my God, I just see like, I don't know, like the energy on the planet next week feels so big to me, but I'm feeling like this big, like magnetic, like kind of like two magnets pulling together. And it's like this is why it's a wormhole too. Your highest timeline, if you are holding the energetic dynamics for like, okay, I want whatever it is that you're looking at, but it has to be based on love. Okay. Love for self. And I know that sounds really weird, but like it feels like the consciousness on the planet is just opening up so much for us to just stop with the bullshit, you know what I mean? And like really step into like the heart of who we are. And so these timelines that are, you know, like think of timelines are like multiple doors for the future. And when you're really clear about what you want to call in, it feels like next week there feels like it's starting to magnetize and you're going to see some result of that. You're going to feel that with this new moon. You're going to be like, oh my God, like, can this really be happening? Like, oh my gosh, this is coming true. Or I'm seeing evidence of the thing that I've been calling in. And it's going to blast your heart open in some ways. Like your heart's going to be like, maybe like in awe of like, oh my God, like this is, you know, I say this kind of jokingly, but like, this is real. Like this work I've been doing for myself, this love that I've been embodying, or these ways that I've been showing up in my relationships or opening my heart and being vulnerable, like it's all paying off, because the more vulnerable and real with what you want, the more it's able to be magnetized towards you next week. And so I do feel like this quickening of time. And what I mean by quickening of time, it's like, it's not so much about linear time, but a quickening of like oh my God, everything's shifting and it's aligning for me to have that thing. There are going to be some challenges and obstacles because when you're on a new journey and you're the full, you don't always know what to expect. You know, you might be walking down a new path and like not see, you're not paying attention and you trip over a rock or something. Like there might be some parts that you like trip on, you know, and it's not like a bad thing, but it's just like part of the journey. It's like, oh, whoa, didn't see that in the road. But it's like, it just kind of makes you like have to stay in your awareness and have to stay like really like kind of just present to everything that's shifting and everything that's happening next week. So it's really cool. Still you'd have to be really fluid, right? It goes back to like be like water, you know, everything's okay. So now for the week of the 14th, let's see, what do we have? Mental conflict. So let me write this down. Okay, so let me fill into this. Because mental conflict, it's a 2 card, so it's always in relationship to something else. You're conflicted about something. And it really feels like it goes back to what I was seeing for this week, actually, in June, where it's like there's a lot of restructuring of things happening so that things can be foundationally stronger. And you started the process of it, but by this week there might be a little bit of like confusion of like, oh, do I want to don't want to go back to what feels safe? Like, am I trusting this process? Because it feels like there's so much change happening so fast that it'd be easy for you to like, it's like the little baby walking. Like the baby's like, oh, my equilibrium. Like I'm having a hard time fully balancing myself and trusting that I can walk, that I can get to the other side of this. So there's a little bit of like confusion, a little bit of like murky kind of like waters, a little bit of like energy where it's like you might feel a little bit doubtful, a little bit like it's like doubt and confusion is kind of like, and this is the week that I don't want you to be a prisoner to the stories of your mind. Like just like really notice like, okay, what is my mind? What's the job my mind's trying to tell, you know, what is my mind trying to tell me? What's the job my ego is trying to do on me? Because like things are so feeling so good for you in so many, like in a lot of different ways. And then it's like, but your mind, like, you know, wants to question things and is like, oh, I don't know. And it's like, try and be the observer this week. Like stay in the higher seat of your consciousness. And when you catch yourself going into the familiar past, just say to yourself, okay, yes, I can understand why my brain's coming up with these stories, because in the past, these are the experiences I used to have. But because I'm willing to step into the present moment and rewire my neural pathways and step into the new, because that's the new beginnings, right? We're in this new cycle of energy. But you're going to have to like, it's like you're attuning, you know, it's like all these new energies came into the planet that the week before. And so now it's like you have to tune it, and it could be easy for you to kind of want to go back to like what felt stable before, but it's not about that. It's about staying in the energy of what's right now and not second guessing your path, not second guessing one single piece of it. Like this is going to be a week where you might feel like a divine fluctuation. Like you might not feel as on top of the world as you did the week before. Or you might feel like, oh my gosh, this is just too much for me. Like this is too much happening or change. Like how do I hold all this energy? And you just have to stay calm. Like your nervous system this week, like they're showing me like lots of self-care, lots of meditation, getting massage, you know, whatever it is for you that is self-care. Like this is the week to ante up on it, because the energy just feels like it's a stabilization of the week before. And as things stabilize and your energy field starts to attune to the new codes and the new things that you are receiving for your life, because you have to remember eclipses are wormholes, and like they rapidly change your life, like to the point where sometimes it's like, wait, what? Like how did that even happen? But you have to trust the process, right? And if you go into conflict about what is this person thinking, or what is this with my business, or what are these things, it just throws you in this like this loop. So stay out of the drama, stay out of any gossip, stay out of anything that's taking you from the presence of your heart. Okay, because this, and it doesn't mean it's going to be a bad week. That's just like the warning of like the week of like, just be aware and up your self-care, because it's really important that week. And then, we step into the week of the 21st, and the 24th is a full moon. And I don't think it's like as crazy of energy as all these eclipses and lunar eclipse, solar eclipse, all that stuff. Yikes. And then Mercury goes out of retrograde, I believe the 29th, not to the last week. But okay, so let's see what's the 21st week. I'm curious because coming out of that other card, the mental conflict, what's the storyline here? Because it all starts to make a story. Okay. So we got the waiting game card. I like this card. I think it's so cool because it's like, there's an egg timer, and this is like, it's divine timing. That's what I'm talking about with this Wheel of Fortune. You got to trust divine timing. You cannot like speed up grace, It's like you just have to like be in a deep state of surrender with things. And sometimes that's like the hardest thing to do. But this card is really about your relationship to the external world. And knowing that you've already planted the seeds of what you want. Like things are coming to fruition. It may not, and this is why it goes back to the Wheel of Fortune. Like the signs are going to be there so that you can stay on track. This feels a little bit kind of like coming out of the mental conflict week, like where you're still kind of like, I just get this weird feeling for these, like this mental conflict week, the 14th and the 21st, almost like I feel like a fogginess in my brain when I look at these weeks. Like I feel like there's just a lot of like swirling energetic data, and it's like, oh, I don't know what to think. And it's like, I can feel this sway of like, if you're not super grounded. And this is, a spiritual card. So you really, really, really have to be in using your spiritual tools. Because the mental conflict card is all about the mind. And, that was the one for the last week. And the stories and how that's going to affect you. Well, this one is a 2 card as well, but it's about your relationship to the, with source, with how things unfold, with, God, they keep talking about this too. Maybe it's that like Saturn, Uranus square stuff, all that stuff that's happening right now overall. But they keep talking about the structures of your life, like really, really slowing. Like this is the week that's like things slow down so you can get like a different perspective of your life. Like I really feel like, it's kind of like if you're always like right here in your life and you're living it and you're going, you don't get that opportunity to take a deep breath and be like, what's really happening? And this week feels like a pause, like, okay, I'm pausing. I'm letting myself like just be. And I'm going to like, it's almost like you trust that everything's being handled and you're still going to show up for your life, but you're not pushing as hard. You're not like, oh my God, like this also feels like not the week to really start anything new. It feels like a week to just like be in the energy of what is, like to just let things unfold, trust in what's happening, and just, I don't know, it feels very quiet to me. And this is the week that they're telling me that we're going to be resetting our third eyes, because there's been so much psychic data coming in on the planet in June. And this is the week that it's like you have to start deciphering all the messages, and that's why you have to slow down. That's why you have to be in the flow, in the process. There's so much energy of like being in the flow, surrendering, letting go, which will enable you to to get that resolve that I was talking about at the beginning, where your feet are firmly planted, like the little baby's walking and starting to like really walk. And it's like trusting the timing. It's like, I don't have to run just yet. I'm not ready to run. You know, if a baby was just learning to walk, it's not going to just, a toddler, whatever you want to call it, it's not going to just start running across the room. Well, some little boys would. Some kids might. But it's more of like picking up, like trusting the gait, trusting the speed of things. Okay. So no need to like run, rush, hustle this week. Really like just being okay with the energy of how things are unfolding, the timing of things. And that full moon feels a little bit like there might be some energy of just like celebrating and having gratitude for what is. Really being in the energy of like what you're thankful for, because that is part of the pause, right? Noticing all the blessings, okay? So last but not least, we have the week of the 28th. So let me see what that is about. And I feel like I have to say something a little bit more about this resetting of the third eye. Do not be surprised in your pausing if you get a lot of psychic messages about your path. Like if you feel like so like tuned in, and that's how like that week, as far as like the synchronicities, that's how they're going to come in, is through your psychic messages. So your psychic senses are going to be really, really high. A lot will be illuminated that week too, they're telling me, of the 21st with that full moon. Not in a bad way, but just some final blind spots. Okay, there is just this interesting feeling these last couple. Okay, so the last week is patience. Same energy as the 21st, except it's even a bigger theme, because the other one's a minor arcana. This is a major. Like this is like temperance. Gotta temper. And like, you know, you see this guy, he's holding a seed and it's blooming. It's already showing the fruits of its labor, but you can't force a flower to open up and to bloom. It's going to take, it's still about divine timing. It's still about trusting the process. And there's this sense with this energy of, it's so interesting because I've been playing out this vision I've seen in my head over and over again this last week, and I've told a few of my clients about it. Essentially, the image is of if you're swimming over to like let's say you're going to swim across a channel of water, and you leave behind an island to go to another island, and you've heard amazing things about this island, but you don't really know about the island that much. You just heard it's really good, and something in your physical body, your intuition, tells you that's where you need to go. Like that's the next step for you. And so you start swimming across this channel, and you're about halfway through. You know, you're halfway there, and you're getting a little tired, and you're like, God, I kind of even forgot why I was going to this other place. Like, why am I making all these changes? Why am I doing all this? And you kind of like turn around and you look behind you and you're like, my God, well, I've already come this far. If I go back now, like, I know what I can expect, but should I just push on and just like, even though I can't really remember sometimes like why I'm following this impulse, this spark of the divine to go to that other island. It's a feeling, it's a knowing that like when you get there, you know, and part of this is like, this card is like, we're on a journey. I remember I told you in the beginning, it's like, there's a journey to this. And in the journey, if you get really like impatient with the timing of things, you're going to miss the miracles that are going to appear this week. You're going to miss the beauty and the freshness that life is starting to bring you. So you have to make a decision this week, like to trust that like you're going to get to the other side. Like that island, like that swimming and like where you're at, like you can either use your energy to go back to the past and to keep looping, you know, because you're going to go back to the other where you started from, you're going to be like, oh, I'm not really happy here. I've outgrown this. This is no longer who I am. But you don't know where you're exactly going either. You don't know that version of you fully because you just felt into it a little bit energetically. That's why this month it's going to highlight to you through different situations, circumstances, the energy of what you're stepping into, but it's not going to be fully available to you yet. And that's okay because it's coming. And so whatever it is that you've been working on, whatever it is that you want to bring to fruition, whatever it is that wants to like come into the fullness of your being, there's no rush to this because you already know it's happening. It's already there. The flower, the seed, the flower, it's all there. And so this week, ask of you, what would it look like if you could just float on the lazy river? What would it look like to open your arms really wide to receive the gifts that the divine wants to bring you? And there does feel like there's a lot of gifts energetically that want to come through for you. So it might just be in conversation with other people. It might be like noticing that when you slow down, how much more availability you have towards life. This is a rewiring and a restructuring this week of how you show up in relationship to your life, to other people, your boundaries, all those kind of things. And it just feels like this beautiful blessing of like, God, if I hadn't slowed down, I wouldn't have seen all this. I wouldn't have even noticed that this was happening right underneath my nose. Because there's something that is going to have been highlighted to you last week, the week of the 21st, that in this last week of June, that you're able to kind of tinker and shift and change so that you're fully like ready to walk with, faster and more towards your destiny and your dharma with assuredness. So wherever you're at in your journey of like that vision I told you about, like swimming across the channel and getting to the new island, to the new place, the new location, the new geography, the new outcome, take care of yourself on the way there. Like keep tuning into that feeling in your body of expansion that knows there's a reason why you're doing this, that knows that there's a higher purpose and calling to all of these changes that you've made this month. And that before you know it, you're going to feel such a deeper level of embodiment. That's why this is about slowing down, because you cannot come into embodiment if you have all the information still up here, if you're still in the mental conflict. Like, you actually have to let the information sink down into your body and become integrated and become wisdom, because otherwise it's just knowledge. But when you do the work and you're in the card of the waiting game and then you get into patience, it's like really like you're allowing the alchemical process to work its magic through you. Very, very powerful month. It's going to be very powerful, and there's going to be ups and downs just like every month. And it's all just about the way you're perceiving your reality. There's no good or bad to any of these things, right? It's just about like, okay, how am I going to flow? And this forecast is really designed so that you can just kind of have like a theme that you might be working with kind of in the peripheral of your life, because it's going to affect everybody in different ways. But if you have it in your mind, like, okay, yeah, this is a week to move slower, it's going to help you out. So anyways, it was such a pleasure I don't know who was on today because I can't see any comments or anything like that, but thanks for joining me. I was able to do that in about 40 minutes. I'm pretty impressed. And like I said, doors are open right now to Rich Soul, which is my program that helps you access your limitless life, which is really about removing the invisible shackles of your life that are holding you back from having the most thriving, amazing life that you desire. And so I take you on a deep, deep journey of discovery to figure out what are those invisible shackles, get them removed, and then really moving forward into your greatness, your brilliant future. So anyways, I hope you guys are having a lovely day, and I will see you soon. Thank you.